Hey everybody, this is John from aMTBer Products. Well, this is going to be vlog number 3, but it's actually number 2. I decided to put up that one of the videos I was reluctant to publish because, well, you know, the bottom line is it's been 6 or 7 years since Otter almost, and I'm not too worried about them figuring out what I'm doing. So now the reason for this vlog, and I put the number 2 up just so I could tell my story first a little more before I got into the nitty gritty here of what's really going on with this this is a follow-up to the first vlog, okay? And you could sort of call this detective time. This is going to be fun. I think a lot of people who are passionate about the sport have a lot in common with each other. Like, basically, we love being outdoors, we love being in nature, and we love, you know, certain things about the sport that are very truthful and honest and things like that. And what we are involved in is a sport that has a lot of swindlers in it, okay? Now, I want to try to, well, I guess the only word is expose this in the most, what's a good choice of words here? Like, a very democratic way, okay? Because you're going to see that I don't have to do anything but point out the facts. Now, you know, my first vlog was about my company, but it was really started out with that letter I got that was so disturbing, and I've got something in my throat. Hold on a second. And so I decided to, after quite a few years, take a look at this channel again and see what they're up to. And so the thing is I listened to this and I was shocked at, I didn't have to do anything except listen, and they exposed themselves. So let's see if we can dive into this, a couple things one thing at a time. There's quite a few points to this. So I'll just start here real quick. Okay, I just, you know, haven't looked at this channel in years, and their latest video was called Friendly Fire, GCN and Ceramic Speed Disaster. So apparently the story is they did a test on live, like a live test with no editing, and the ceramic speed chain was only 1 watt faster than a dirty chain, supposedly. Okay, so the thing about this is that this is looking very nefarious to me. Okay, so what they're doing is they're providing this entertainment, and they're taking one for the team here by saying, you know, the wax chain is not that much more efficient than a dirty chain. Well, it's just not true. Now, you can have a fast dirty chain, but your dirty chain is going to wear out your bike really quickly. You're going to be buying new chain rings and cassettes and jockey wheels even very quickly. So, you know, the point of this is something I was going to save to the end, but you know what, maybe I should do that, because I have to build this up, and this is going to take a while for me to figure out how to piece all these little clues together here. But in this video, they really slam, well, they mentioned Chainwax. You know, Chainwax was the guy who had this, you know, easy application wax product that was probably not designed to go 2,500 miles either on one application. They did mention something about 2,500 kilometers here in this video, which I was shocked, because that's, you know, that's over 1,000 miles. And so the thing is that they have completely destroyed this Chainwax guy's business reputation by comparing his product to a product that you know, passes their 1,000-mile test, okay? Now, I'm going to show you something here that shows you how deceptive this is, okay? Hold on. So let's just start here. When I Googled the Ceramic Speed drip wax, this came up. Ceramic Speed UFO drip reviews highlights its excellent performance in dry conditions, making chains smooth, quiet, and clean by repelling dirt. However, its performance in wet or muddy conditions is considered poor, as it washes off more easily than oil-based lubes. Users should note that it requires a full overnight drying period after application to reach its best state. In this video demonstrates how to apply Ceramic Speed UFO drip to your bike chain. Okay, so here we have you know, a drip wax by one of the top reviewed, you know, this Zero Friction top reviewed company by Zero Friction Cycling, but it doesn't even hold up in the wet. And I've heard this before myself, and I can tell you why, but I won't right now. Hold on. So that caught my attention. I thought I'd look up the Silka stuff real quick, because I haven't looked at their site or anything, and you know, since they came out, really. So let's read this real quick. Silka drip wax is highly reviewed for its ability to keep a drive clean and quiet, and many users find it performs similarly to a full immersion wax, especially the super secret drip wax. So right here it's saying that it's drip wax. They call it a drip wax, okay, is just as good as their crockpot wax, okay. They're using the word full immersion to not use the word crockpot in their description, because crockpot's a trademark word, just so you know. It is particularly effective in dry conditions where it repels dirt, but also holds up well in wet and muddy situations. So the Silka stuff holds up in the wet and muddy conditions better, though reapplication is needed more frequently. While the initial cost of a full wax system can be high, the long-term cost is often lower, and many users find the benefits of a cleaner, more efficient drive to make it worth the effort, particularly when used to maintain a hot wax chain. Okay, so here's the thing. Key takeaways: clean and quiet performance. This sounds, you know, sort of sounds a lot like my stuff, you know. Watch this, though. Users praise the product for keeping the chain clean, quiet, and smooth, and significant improvement over traditional oil-based lubricants. All right. Durability. In dry conditions, the reapplication might be needed every 80 to 100 kilometers. That's every 50 to 60 miles in dry conditions. The durability of this Silka drip wax is only 50 to 60 miles, while in wet conditions, it might be every 30 to 40 kilometers, 20 to 25 miles. Wait a minute. So the number one product that they sell on their website only has 50 to 60 miles in dry conditions and 20 to 25 miles in wet conditions? Wait a minute, what's going on here? These people are slamming companies like Chainwax, putting up their basically drip wax, or their non-crockpot applied wax, up against their crockpot wax, which supposedly gets 1,000 miles, but their own drip wax only gets 50 to 60 miles in the dry and 20 to 25 in the wet. But they destroy on their channel a little company like Chainwax, putting their product, which, you know, Chainwax's product is more similar to their drip wax than it is their crockpot wax, but they put it up against everything else. Now, it's just, you know, this is what we're talking about here. This is what I want to point out, is that their own products that they praise aren't any better. I'm sure the Chainwax holds up just fine in the dry, more than 50 or 60 miles, because I saw the people he had sponsored racing with it. So just to be clear here, the durability here, 50, 60 miles in the dry, wet conditions, 20 to 25 miles. Compatibility with hot waxing. So we're talking about the drip wax here. We're not talking about anything else. The drip wax is excellent way to maintain a chain has been fully immersed wax extending the time between full waxings. So this is the equivalent of my Smooth Lube original formula, which my original formula was designed to do the same thing, which I came up with this in 2015 and 16. Okay, so their performance of their additive. See, mine was 4 wax drivetrains. Okay, so this was 4 your wax dip chains to extend the time between having to take the chain off and re-dip the wax. So this has been on the market since 2019. And like I said, I think I mentioned it in one of the videos. I would use this stuff in addition to my crock pot waxes back in 2016, 17, 18, to get another 50 or 60, 70 mile ride between wax dip chains. So it looks to me like they actually just are trying to mimic this product of mine. That looks like what it is. And I actually saw the video where they applied it, and I can actually tell, believe it or not, I can tell by looking at it what they did. Now, I know what they did is they made a wax dust, because when people asked me back then what I did, I told them that I figured out a way to make wax dust. And the shocker is that I had to tell them something, but what I really did was nothing of the sort. I had to tell the other very curious people within the industry something that would get the dogs off me, so to speak. So, you know, I had theorized it, and I had figured out a way to manufacture it that way, but I never pursued it with this product because it wasn't cost effective and it didn't really matter. I figured out a better way to do it. So, and that's top secret. So the thing is that it looks like this zero friction cycling channel came into being right around the time that these companies were developing their sort of versions of what I had come up with at the Sea Otter show. You know, the Ceramic Speed booth was right across the way from me at the show, and they were in my booth for a half hour at a time. I couldn't believe it. Just asking me all kinds of questions. And I said, you know, I'm here to get my product on the shelves, not tell you guys my formula. And it was very uncomfortable, to say the least. So let me see if I can find a picture of Sea Otter here real quick. That's interesting. Well, I've been looking for some of these particular pictures when I had the GCN crew at my booth, and they spent a half an hour filming my product. Wish I had the clip of what they actually put on GCN. It was 1 second of them spilling my product on the cassette. And they went to talk about Petey's product for 20 minutes after that. So here's me up at Golden Eagle in the snow. And this isn't from testing. This is from like 20 years ago. But the snow testing and this cold weather testing I did up in Fraser Park and in Golden Eagle. You can see there's no tire tracks on the trail except mine. And I used to know the trails really well up there. So back to the story about Sea Otter. I'm just going to put an image up here. This cave is about 2 miles from my house. The thing that happened at Sea Otter was very uncomfortable. And it looks like they've been trying to reverse engineer my product ever since. Let me see if I can find this. So here's an email I got from the squirt guy that came to my booth. He bought a sample, and then he sent me this letter under this name. It says, "Good day, I got some of your product at Sea Otter. Can you please send me the safety data sheet for your Smooth Lube?" His reason was he needed to take it on an airplane. So I looked up this email address, and it turns out he was the CEO of a company that owns Squirt products. And here's part of a letter that I wrote to my attorney regarding this this sort of backhanded behavior going on with other people in the chain lube industry. This is from right at the time of Sea Otter. It's when this email came out. So you can read it if you want. So the thing is that all of this started almost immediately. Like, there wasn't even a product on the market that was, there were dry lubes, but there wasn't a liquid wax yet. And if you look on my Lubenschleiden bottle, it says wax drivetrain liquid formula. So it was really new, you know, to figure out how to make these. They're calling them drip lubes now, okay? But for me, it was, the dry lubes weren't really wax lubes. They were something in between, and they don't work well. They last 6 or 7 miles for me. And the oil-based lubes got dirty. I had to clean them. And the only alternative back in 2015 was to do the crock pot. So again, I started out to figure out to get rid of the crock pot. Lubenschleiden did that. Wax drivetrain liquid formulas on the label still. And they're all still kind of, it's looking to me like they're all still where I was back then in the mid 2010s, and maybe not even that far. My 5311 outperforms what I'm reading about their product. I'm talking about the drip lubes that I've described earlier in this video. Okay, they're from the two companies that are on the top of the zero friction cycling list. So they have wax melt lubes that they put the 1,000-mile test to, and then they have these drip lubes that you're supposed to supplement these wax dip chains with, but then they compare anybody else's product to their wax dip chain product, which, you know, it's noisy and it doesn't shift well, and it's actually very slow until the wax warms up. And I can tell you there's a lot of things that are negative about it. Now, I've been trying to rehearse this in my mind all day while I was working on stuff at the barn. And, you know, there's about a half a dozen things I thought of today why the crock pot is so overrated. There's the wax dandruff that comes off your bike the minute you start pedaling, and the chain is slow, and then, man, it's like you can skip gears until you break all those. You got to break through all that wax that dried on your chain, you know, and you get this wax dandruff all over your black bike, and then you get in the sun and it melts in, and it's really not that great. And the environmental impact of that is not good either, because I know they've got certain ingredients in it that, you know, shedding off your bike chain all over the place, that's not good either. You know, all dry lubes will shed atoms off, period, but it's not that big a deal. The wax dip chain sheds a lot off. Okay, and I mean, it's literally like dandruff, and it's really slow when it's cold. So I found ways around all of this using actual chemistry and not just copying somebody else's product that you saw at a bike show and then, you know, modifying it a little here and there, whatever they're doing. But I already know what they're doing. They're atomizing the wax, and they're making dust, and they're putting it in some kind of a carrier. And this is why you're not getting a good bond to your chain, for one. So, you know, and whatever the Silka stuff is doing that actually holds up in the wet, that's better. They probably have a certain solvent in there to achieve that. I'll tell you one thing. I remember somebody showed me a wax product at the bike store, and I opened the cap, and I almost passed out. It was like, I went, oh, I know exactly what that is. That's xylene. And xylene is illegal in LA County. And it was sold in the product in LA County as bike lube. And I went, wow, that's crazy. And I said, you know, that product that they're using, I recognize the smell from being a car painter back. You know, I used to paint guitars and cars, and then I knew. Well, I had a painting business. I did all kinds of high end finishes for all the billionaires in town when I was a kid. So a lot of the chemistry, uh, that's used in bike chain lubes, like they're using the same solvents that are found in like paint thinners and stuff. Okay, so when I smelled the xylene, I was kind of blown away, and that stuff will really melt the wax into the metal, but it's very, very hard to be around. I mean, it's like instant cancer smelling that stuff. So, you can use small amounts of things like that to get the wax to melt into your metal, but it's still just a wax dip chain. It's still mechanically, it's not doing anything beyond just mechanically sticking to the metal. Um, it's temporary, is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to find the right layman terms for this to describe it where you can get a mental picture. It's it's not doing anything other than uh, liquefying the wax. The wax gets dry. It's stuck to your chain for as long as it can until the friction of the movement of the chain wears it off. So there's that. Now, so now back to the whole zero friction cycling and these top companies that they sell. He sells their products on his website. He promotes their products on his YouTube channel, where he compares it to all kinds of other products on the market, and he slams them in order based on this test that, the products that pass the 1,000-mile test, this arbitrary test, simulation test, not even real world test, okay? Where real world is constant flow of dust the entire time. And it's just not even a factor in their test. They talk about chain break-in periods and stuff. I have eliminated the chain break-in problem. Okay, completely eliminated this chain. They're saying that your chain is not broken in for 500 kilometers. My chains are broken in within minutes. I mean, what I'm saying is you will not believe how loose the chain feels once you treat it with my product without ever even writing it yet. Now, I've got a test that I call the pendulum test. And what it is you take a chain and you hang it up from the ceiling. You hang it from above. And you put some weight on the bottom link below on the end, and you swing it back and forth and see how long it goes. This is the equivalent to what I talked about earlier about spinning my front wheel with no grease in the bearings, with our racing grease we made as kids. And we would try to get our wheels to spin for 10 or 15 minutes at a time. The pendulum test on a chain is something I came up with, that what it does is it shows the freeness between the links it's swinging from, okay? It's just how free it is. And when you hold one of my chains that's been treated in your hand, it's like a snake. There's no resistance between the links. And, when I did the crockpot stuff, that wasn't the case. It's very stiff, and you're basically wearing away most of the wax to get to that point. And they're saying, with a new chain, this break-in period is X amount of kilometers, and then with a freshly waxed chain, you have to warm it up. And, so on race day, you got to go ride for 45 minutes to get your chain warmed up to go race. I just want to just say the word scam right now, because it's like that. Who wants to deal with that? It's not a race chain if you can't just jump on your bike and race with it. There's just so many.
there's like a dozen things in my mind right now. I gotta collect my thoughts and continue this direction here. But you know, their claims of their products are extremely exaggerated, and the testing they're doing to other products that never claimed, you know, this duration, this endurance duration that's supposedly the end-all be-all to decide who's the best product. Is you know, it's a very narrow-minded view on what the chain needs to achieve in order to be, say, a racing chain or a maintenance-free chain, or, you know, these things. So, I mean, just back to my list here, you know, yeah, they've got like the stay clean thing figured out with wax, and anybody with a crock, you could just melt candles in your crock pot, and you're going to get the stay clean thing, but you're not going to have safe for the environment. You know, I mean, it's just candle wax, but it's like you start putting additives to it and stuff, and it's going to shed off like the dandruff I talked about. So they don't have the no maintenance. They still don't have the no quick link removal. That's, you know, they still got to take the chain off every time, and I've talked about in the first vlog how dangerous that is. And so they do get some pretty good chain life, okay? But their racing performance, they claim, comes with some stipulations. You know, you have to break this chain in for X amount of miles. You're not going to believe how, when you start using my product after the first 2 or 3 rides, you're going to feel it through the feet. You're going to, especially if you're clipped in, you're going to feel it, whether it's on a road bike or a mountain bike. You're going to feel just how smooth this is.
It was just really impressive.
I would agree 100%. When I first got on it, I was with a couple friends in the woods, and I was like, listen to that. And they were like, listen to what? I was like, exactly. There's zero noise coming from my drivetrain. And that lasted nearly the entire ride, that quiet, right? Up until, you know, as everything heats up on an e-bike drivetrain system, you know, you start to get a tiny bit more noise. But in general, it was like a liquid metal. It was so smooth.
Okay.
Like liquid metal, okay? Right up, this is first application. He's talking about the first time he rode with it after properly treating it with the chain prep formula, getting all the junk out of the chain. The first time he didn't put enough of the chain prep formula on, and after when he rode, the rest of the stuff was squeezing out of the chain, and it was like, you know, he had to wipe it off with a rag and start over. So the chain lube is actually doing the work for you. So, you know, this whole thing that I'm realizing now, here's the end of the detective story. I'm going to try to wrap this up so you understand here. I can see now that the Zero Friction Cycling channel is their vehicle of marketing for these top 3 products that they claim. I think the top 3 are like some Rex Diamond maybe, and then the Silka, and the Ceramic Speed, and maybe one other. I only spent, you know, a few minutes listening to the latest video. I listened to the latest video once, spent a few minutes looking around, and that's it, to find some of the stuff I showed you here. But what I can tell you with 25 years in the trade show business and all these different industries I described in the first video, I've done I was the Southern California distributor for NASCAR, for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, for NASCAR products. And the corporate sabotage that happens on that level, you just wouldn't believe it. You're basically attacked constantly. People trying to take you down. So the takeaway from this, the detective work that it didn't take me long. I mean, literally listening to one video and doing tiny bit of research on their products of what they actually do versus what they actually claim, and what they put other products up against, but they don't hold those standards to themselves. It's very clear to me that after 2015, when I developed mine, brought it to market in 2019, within 6 months, people were trying to figure this out, and other products were coming out. It's clear that this is the latest marketing tactics to provide an entertainment channel where you've got all this drama and slamming other products, promoting the top three, where the guy who's doing the testing is selling the products himself. It's not unbiased, but people are falling for this because it's entertainment. It seems genuine. The guy's a good actor. The guy's doing a great job of sounding actors are very good at playing roles. And basically, I call actors, professional liars. That's really what they are. And you can be entertained by them and believe it's even true. And the thing is that it looks, this I'm rambling a little too much, but the point is that this is today's marketing strategy to provide. We used to have infomercials 25 years ago on TV, half-hour TV ads that were like a little TV show, like Billy Mays and stuff like that. And now we have YouTube videos that appear to be genuine, but really are in cahoots with a couple of manufacturers to promote their products and slam everybody else. And the reason why there's 3 products promoted by Zero Friction Cycling, if they just promoted Silka, it would be obvious. But what it looks like they've done is they've all teamed up. We're going to take over the market. There's room for 3 or 4 of us, and we're going to slam everybody else, and we're going to make it look real genuine with this testing platform. Then we'll design some products to pass this test, and none of the other products that are actually for daily use most of them won't hold up, and we'll be able to prove that with our test. And we're going to provide entertainment. People love this drama, and that's exactly what this is. And I am 100% sure of it. It's not an independent source. That's why he's selling their products, So the alternative is the guy just decided to start this channel out of the blue. The guy who's got no racing background or anything like that. Come on. It's like he's like an actor playing a role. So the thing is that now this video, I think I'll go back to that real quick. This video here, the latest video, just came out 5 days ago now. That was 4 days ago when I started this. This is their latest video called Friendly Fire. Now, this is part of the drama I'm talking about. So GCN, oh gosh, they exposed how, there was only 1 watt difference between the ceramic speed chain and a dirty chain. Well, this is entertainment, guys. They're using this is an infomercial. GCN is basically, every show is an infomercial, okay? It's everything in mountain biking videos is really just trying to sell you a product. They're just all infomercials. Channels like GCN, okay? And there's a lot of channels that that's why I don't watch them. Those channels are kind of for newbies. And so GCN is sort of a newbie channel. If you're ever like out riding and you see a guy ride by with a GCN kit on, wearing like a GCN jersey or a GMBN jersey on a mountain bike or a GCN kit on a road bike, they're a newbie. You just know they're a noob, right? I know some people are laughing out there right now. And the thing is that by them doing this Friendly Fire video, supposedly unscripted, listen, nothing's unscripted, okay? What's the takeaway? Now, this Zero Friction Cycling video is like, oh, we just undid all this education and now we have to teach these people that you're going to destroy your drivetrain. Well, exactly. Why do you think they did this video for all these newbies? They want them to use the oil-based products. You know why? Because they're going to sell more cassettes and chains and chain rings and jockey wheels and chain lube and degreaser. You see what just happened? This is not only entertainment, but it's self-serving to them. Because they know the newbies will just go, oh, I'll just ride the old stuff. And then you go in your bike shop 6 months later to have a tune-up or whatever, and they go, you need new chain, jockey wheels, cassette, and chain ring. What? Well, I just did what GCN said, and, you know, a dirty chain is just as fast and efficient as a clean chain. Yeah, but it doesn't keep your parts new. So, you know, they're actually capitalizing on the ignorance of new riders here, is what this GCN Ceramic Speed disaster video, they call it a disaster. See, that's entertainment for you guys that know the truth about how great wax is for your parts. But for the newbie, they heard everything they needed to hear to just be lazy. They heard everything they needed to know to just be lazy, and then they're going to find out, oh, wow, it's going to cost me $1,500 to replace all these parts. Well, some people have to learn the hard way. But anyway, this channel is all about entertainment, infomercial, promoting the products that support this channel, the Zero Friction Cycling channel. It's not 100% genuine. I mean, there's some true facts there. You know, you have to have truth to sell the lie. All lies are 90% truth, okay? So yeah, this data is true according to their test, but the Chainwax that they put at the bottom of the list, now if you listen to this video and how he just smugs the Chainwax product, like, I mean, just dropping these little comments. This is what I talked about in the very first vlog, number 1, that they just show up in the comments and they drop these names and they just make these little hints that this product's better. And, you know, these are all corporate attacks, guys. These are all corporate attacks. This is the way it looks today. It's just random people in comment sections that have no credibility, but they say these words, and most people go to a video, go right to the comments, start reading stuff. And they know that. And that's part of their corporate strategy now. This is something I'll never partake in, but I'm going to expose it. Like I said, I've done nothing here, but it just expose what they're doing by showing you with their own words. Now, you can go through this video and see it all for yourself. And there's probably hundreds of other videos done by them where they slam other businesses, and you can see it. But again, in the beginning here, I pointed out that their own top companies that they promote, their similar non-crock applied products are no better than the Chainwax or even the muck off for that factor, from what I understand. But as far as durability, now we're going to get into eventually the chemistry of doing the degreasers and the chemistry of stripping your chain down to bare metal and exposing it to oxygen and all these things. And basically, my product has eliminated all of that as well. My products, all of them, give you these 7 things, where theirs only give you maybe 1 or 2 or 3 at the most, okay? The most they can claim, every single one, it'll stay clean, yes, but it requires maintenance, so there's a fail, number 2. Quick link removal, remove chain, fail, number 3. They do get the chain life if you are in certain conditions and using certain products, but not others. And then the racing performance comes with some stipulations as well. So, and then most of these have environmental good ingredients from the environment, but the process of the dipping the chains there's a lot of shedding that goes on, and that's not something I don't want it all over my bike. I remember my back wheel was covered with wax. My back rims on my road bike were covered with wax from doing the crockpot stuff. And then, you know, safe to handle, they may or may not have that covered. I think most of the wax products are probably pretty darn pretty darn safe. But again, those top two drip waxes, they've only mimicked my very first original smooth lube, which I debuted here at Sea Otter in 2019, you know, and let's see here what's going on. And all the chain lube companies came to my booth, all of them. I saw them, you know, wearing their polo shirts with their embroidered logos on their chest and their hats, and all of them were there. And, you know, I was talking to them, and they were all pretty cool. Some of them were very, very pushy to know things about, you know, and I said, hey, you know, I'm here to sell my product, not tell you guys how I did it. And it looks like they haven't made very far steps at all since I developed this first smooth lube product here, the white bottle. It looks like they may have gotten maybe to the point of adding a few extra added, but even my smooth lube 1.2 seems to hold up better than what their claims are or what the reviews have shown. Those are, you know, the reviews that I read some stuff. And this is what I'm hearing too from other customers. I've heard that some of the stuff washes right off, and it's like, well, all of these are waterproof, guys. All of them are to a degree. Like, you know, a full-blown mud womp and rye. Here's the parameters, okay? If your brake rotors are still functioning, my chain loop's probably going to be still working. If your bike is so muddy that the wheels can't, if your wheels can still pass through your fork and chain stays with not too much mud built up, my product's going to hold up. The minute the mud cakes up to where it clogs your chain stays and your bike stops rolling, your chain is completely inundated with mud. Guess what? My product still works fine once you rinse that mud off. I've done it. I've gotten stuck out here in the clay. Believe it or not, it happens once in a blue moon. You get caught out in a big rain, and the only way home is through the clay. You just hit one little patch, and bam, the whole rear end is packed solid. It happened a few years ago, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, I haven't done this in 10 years. But my chain was packed solid with mud, and so when I got it, took it apart on the trail, I got some water with my water bottle, I cleaned up the bike, rinsed the chain, and you know what? It was totally silent. Totally silent. And it shed right away, and there was plenty of lube left to get through the rest. It didn't even stop me from doing the ride. I just had to take about a 10-minute break to take the wheels off the bike, scrape everything clean, and found some puddles of water and clean the bike up with my water bottle. And so these products have been designed to be waterproof from day one. It sounds like the top performers aren't even really, one of the two hasn't even figured that out yet. All right, so my Uber Lube, this is the Uber Clear. I don't have the Uber Clear label on this. This is before I renamed them. So the Uber Clear has the gold label here. It says Uber Clear on the top now. This is basically my winter formula now. It's 5311 on steroids. It's basically got a lot more of what you would supposedly call the crock pot wax. Okay, so it's got more of that in there. Keep this in your pocket. Keep it a little bit warm. While we're talking about that, if any of my products ever freeze solid, okay, all you got to do is put it in boiling water. You don't even need to boil it. You need to run the hot tap water in a bowl and put the bottle in there. Use the shipping cap, preferably, and let it sit for a half hour. Keep adding more hot water to keep it, you know, if it's an ice cube, it's going to cool the water down. So keep it hot as you can, or stick it in the sun. But if it's freezing out, it's probably not very hot outside. So hot water is the best way to do it. And then from there, you can put it in your pocket. You can put it on the dash of your car with the heater. I put mine next to the coffee maker in the morning. I'll just set it next to it. The radiant heat of the coffee maker is enough. in my cold house, which is about 55 degrees right now. It's very cold today. I left the window open here in the living room, and it rained last night. So we've got some hero dirt out there. I'm hoping to get a ride in today. But I wanted to just touch on the fact that if my product freezes solid, the emulsion is not destroyed. A lot of these other products, if they're frozen, you'll never get them back to where they were, because the emulsion process they do is different than mine. And mine will re-emulsify. Basically, this product never goes bad. Even if you leave the cap off, it'll dry out, right? But you can add alcohol and heat it up like I just described, and shake it up, or use the little paintbrush, the backwards, and stir it up like a paint stick. You can add alcohol to revive it, because if you leave the cap off, a lot of the alcohol is going to evaporate away. So add some more, shake it up. You can even stir it up with the paintbrush that comes with it, using the paintbrush backwards. And if it's really been neglected, and you want to soften it a little more, you can add a few drops of baby oil to it, or like a food grade mineral oil. If you really want to, if the bottle, let's say you've just left it in the garage for a year, and it's not in top condition anymore because of it's being stored in a hot garage and things like that, you can add alcohol to it. A few drops of baby oil will help soften the wax back up. It won't hurt it at all. Just go slow till you get there. Most mountain bikers have a spray bottle of alcohol handy. You just take the cap off, squirt a couple of shots of the alcohol in there. I use alcohol to clean my bike and my brakes, so most people these days have that set up as well. Well, I hope I've shed the light on just what is really going on here. It's a self-serving thing. It's not a fair test. And if I designed a product to pass this test, it might not meet the criteria of my top 7 list, and that was more important. And again, I lube my chain every ride. You know why? Because I've been racing since I've been 11 years old, and you're supposed to lube your chain every ride. You're supposed to pump up your tires every ride, and clean your stanchions on your full suspension bike. Clean your fork stanchions. Make sure there's not a bunch of debris in your pivot points. If you want your bike, my bikes that are now 7 and 8 years old still ride like they're brand new, because I just do these tiny little things every time I ride. It's 5 minutes. Pump up the tires, lube up the stanchions, cycle the stanchions with the fresh lube on the stanchions, wipe those clean, and lube the chain and go. That's it. And check your cables while you're sitting there waiting for the oil to penetrate into your fork and shock seals. Just check your cables, make sure those are good, make sure your brakes don't need to be bled. Simple stuff. And my bike's all. And check your brake pads once in a while, make sure those are good. And these are all the things you do to make sure when you go out there and you're in the boonies by yourself, you don't get stuck with a broken bike. Okay. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little exposure of just what's going on here. I suggest you listen to this video yourself and listen for some of the things I pointed out, and you'll see this is not genuine. This is definitely part of a marketing strategy of three top companies to make it appear independent, because he's not siding with just one. It's this company, and this company are on the top there, but that's how you're able to sell it. If it was just one, it would be too obvious. So there's 4 top companies here. Black Diamond or something is another one. I don't remember. Don't care. Like I said, my product since 2015 has been in development. It looks like they're still trying to catch up. their top products aren't any better than Wax, truly. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Hopefully this will all paste together and be something worth listening to. Cheers.